Good morning, everyone. How's this? Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone, one and all, and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Albany, New York. Today's sermon, which is also the theme of today's service, is titled Love and Letting Go, and it will be delivered by our minister, the Reverend Sam Trumber. My name is Michael Hornsby, and it's my honor to be your service associate today. Now, for the call to celebration, I would like to share a personal story with you. My daughter, Lucia, will be 18 years old on March 6th. Yeah. Right. We have a close relationship, but in June of 2022, just after we got back from a vacation in Montreal, she decided that she was angry at me, and before long, she wouldn't see me or speak to me. Yeah, Nor would she answer my texts or emails. And please believe me when I tell you that I had no idea what I had done to offend her. She would not tell me. So last Tuesday she called. This was after about 8 months of silence. First thing she said to me was that she needed to take some time to figure some things out, and she wanted me to let her speak without interruption. So I listened quietly to her list of grievances. And, she was right. She was absolutely right. I made mistakes. And she went back, to middle school with some of these mistakes I made. Yeah. For example, Lucia had a rough start to her college experience, and I immediately jumped into the Papa Grizzly mode, and my efforts to protect her were smothering her. I didn't trust her to make good decisions, and now I understand that I was angry at her for putting herself in situations that were potentially unsafe. This is what adolescents do, right? They put themselves in positions that are unsafe, and I just got really angry at her. I apologize sincerely. That was just one of many grievances, though. I apologize sincerely, first to Lucia and later to her mother. Lucia said she loved me and that I wasn't a bad person or a bad father, but I still felt terrible. And she said that we just need to work on our relationship a little bit. I hate making mistakes. I just do. Even little mistakes. So these things that hurt my daughter, I just have a really hard time letting go of those. But I have to. I must let go of my guilt and shame in order to become the father that Lucia deserves and that I want to be. I must let go of my manner of parenting, which worked when she was a toddler, a kindergartner, and all through high school, okay? Now, loving somebody over the course of a lifetime means loving them through each developmental stage that they go through. And only by letting go of the baby will I be able to love the young woman that she has become. But don't worry about the baby. The baby will be fine. The baby will remain in my heart, in the heart of my memory, while the young woman ventures out into the world. So, my friends, my prodigal daughter has come back to me, so let's celebrate today by slaying the metaphorical fatted calf this morning. Okay.
Good morning. I was going to use this one, but I guess I use it.
And let us light our chalice together with the words you'll see on the screen and in your program as well. Welcoming all free seekers of truth and meaning, we gather to excite the human spirit, to inspire its growth and development, to respond morally and ethically to a troubled world, and to sustain a vital and nurturing religious community. And we have a really special song to sing, and Olga's going to introduce it.
So this
Lovely story. And let us turn inward for a time of meditation. I have a beautiful poem by Ellen Bass, Thing Is, and let us take this into our time of meditation. To love life, to love it even when you have no stomach for it, and everything you've held dear crumbles like burnt paper in your hands, your throat filled with the silt of it. When grief sits with you, its tropical heat thickening the air, heavy as water, more fit for gills than lungs. When grief weighs you down like your own flesh, only more of it, an obesity of grief. And you think, how can a body withstand this? Then you hold life like a face between your palms, a plain face, no charming smile, no violet eyes. You say, yes, I will take you. I will love you again. Just take these words and our own thoughts, reflections, and prayers into a time of silence. Before I talk about love and letting go, I'd like to acknowledge the opposite value. I'd like to talk about love and holding on as tightly as possible. Children are a prime example. Mark and Jean Dance's son Ryan was a happy, bright child back in the 1980s. In the first few years of Ryan's life, everything seemed normal about his health. Then in 1991, a liver test suggested that there was a problem. His body wasn't breaking down proteins that build bone, tendons, and other tissues. They diagnosed him at age 3 with mucopolysaccharidosis, or MPS. At the time, there was no known treatment for this condition. His parents began a desperate attempt to save his life as they watched his body and brain steadily deteriorate. His father didn't let go at all, but rather resolved to learn all that he could about the disease. He went to a conference on NPS in Denver. It was a very discouraging trip. Mark recognized that most of those diagnosed with MPS died before the age of 12. Research on the rare disease was quite limited. Mark vowed, "I'm not going to let Ryan die." He did all that he could, did all kinds of fundraisers for research for the disease, and raised more than $1 million. After 5 years of a race against Ryan's declining health, a clinical trial of a life-saving enzyme treatment restored much of Ryan's body and brain function, enough so that he was able to graduate from college. There's a lot more to this harrowing story, but Ryan's parents never gave up, never let him go. Whether it's advocating for a life-saving health care treatment for a loved one, or getting special support with a child that might have learning disability in school, or fighting for the Carner blue butterfly to protect the pine bush right here in Albany, there are many, many examples of doing everything humanly possible to save lives. And there are times when letting go is the wise option. Many of us have been at the bedside of a beloved elder suffering a terminal illness. In these situations, there is no hope of recovery, and the body is slowly shutting down, internal organ by internal organ. The kidneys and the digestive system stop working, lungs fill with fluid, the heart labors to beat as life flows out of the body. No heroic measures are needed because the dying process is progressing in a compassionate way to allow the final chapter of someone's life to come to an end. I did a memorial service a couple of weeks ago for a member of the UU congregation in Schenectady. The family met with me and Jacob King as I was preparing the memorial service with them. His name was Mark. He had end-stage lung cancer, for which there was no hope of recovery. He was suffering greatly and ready for his life to end. He was suffering, and as death approached, his close family was there, playing some of his favorite music, encouraging him to let go. Mark loved music, and they played Beethoven's Seventh Symphony for him, some Leonard Cohen, some Yo-Yo Ma, some Itzhak Perlman, John Lennon, some Paul Simon for him. And as they played Mahalia Jackson's version of Amazing Grace, his body relaxed, his breath slowed, and then stopped, with a slight smile on his face. This is what I'd call a good death. I'd be quite content to end my journey on this planet this way. Many of us, I think, right now are appreciative of Jimmy Carter's choice to enter hospice. He's realized that it's his time to allow his life to come to an end at 98. He knew when it was time to let go. So yes, there are times to love and hold on to with everything you've got. And there are times to love and let go. The challenge is to differentiate the two. This is especially challenging when struggling with a life-threatening illness. Most of us, I'm sure, would opt for a treatment that was 95% effective, hoping the odds would be in our favor. The problem is often the odds are less clear, especially with experimental treatments. Even more risky is taking part in a double-blind experiment. Do you take the risk that you'll be getting the placebo and thus no treatment at all? This would be a noble contribution to science, but hardly a sure path to a cure. This is especially challenging if the person threatened by illness is one of your loved ones, a parent, a spouse, or a child. Many of us would be willing to trade places with that person to take on the challenges so that the beloved would survive. Yet we can't decide for them how much risk that they should take, that they're willing to endure. Our emotional makeup is not well suited to rational cost-benefit analysis. There's an important change that happens when someone with a life-threatening illness decides it's time to stop holding on and start to let go. Caregivers need to be especially attentive to this transition because the approach to care and support also changes. I've witnessed that transition, and there can be a sense of relief that accompanies the decision to let go. And it is also true that loving and letting go isn't just something that happens as we face a medical crisis. It can start at a young age. I had a violin, an old violin that was in our house when I was growing up. I was fascinated with it. I'd play with it and wondered if I could learn how to play. So my parents were happy to sign me up for classes at my elementary school. I remember going to a few classes and not knowing where to put my fingers and making these horrible sounds with the bow. I dropped out pretty quickly and let go of the instrument and my future as a violin player. And if I had only had Anne Marie Haber as my teacher, maybe I would have got some reinforcing success early on that would have kept me engaged. In 5th grade, my parents signed me up to learn to play the piano. Unfortunately, the only person that they could find for me to learn lessons with was this really creepy old guy who smelled bad. I gave up on that too. I got a guitar at a yard sale about 25 years ago, and I was thinking that I could learn to play the guitar and maybe join a band. Again, frustration with getting my fingers to make a G chord did me in, and I put that instrument down thinking maybe I'd pick it up in my retirement. Now, with the arthritis in my fingers, I think that ship has sailed too. But I didn't stop trying to be musical. However, I let go of playing instruments, but I did learn to read music, develop my voice, and learned the art of singing in choirs. I've had a great deal of enjoyment and satisfaction singing in an interfaith gospel choir and a UU church choir in California. And then when we lived in Florida, I was in a community chorus there. The aging process is one experience of letting go after another. The university that didn't accept our application, the jobs that we didn't get, that we applied for, the relationships that ended or maybe didn't even get started. The older we get, the losses pile up as friends and families move in and out of our lives. And as we get much older, they begin to die one by one. Music, culture, technology keep changing and leaving us behind. The world we knew is fading into memory just as new ones are taking their place. Elizabeth Valdez and I were discussing a couple of days ago the amazing skill teenagers have. They exhibit pulling videos together. They do this like on a monthly basis that they post on social media with these limited tools that they've got. I feel like I'm out of touch with the skill as I watch these people doing these amazing things in Instagram videos. But aging isn't just about losses. I've also noticed some personal benefits too. I'm a lot less fearful than I was when I was young. I'm also a lot more confident. Now I know what I know a lot more, and I know a lot more than I did when I was young. And I also know a lot more about what I don't know, which continues to expand. And I also have learned how to gracefully respond with humility when people point out what I don't know that I don't know. It might seem that as we grow up and are forced to let go again and again, what we love, letting that process go again and again, the pain of loss might constantly be working to constrict our hearts. And for some, I know that that's true. The grief of loss can, at times, be overwhelming. One of the experiences I've had in ministry that I deeply cherish is the many people with whom I've worked together with over the years. Thousands of people across many different areas, including the time when I was doing a lot of work in community organizing, working with my many ministerial colleagues, work with congregations and leaders in the Unitarian Universalist Association, people I've met in meditation and meditation retreats. My wife Philomena's large extended family and her friends, the friends that I've made in just so many different places that I've lived, so many people. Even if my contact with people is brief, I'm always seeking to be in connection with their inherent worth and dignity, that creative spark, their creative potential that animates their being. I'm fed by that communion of the Spirit, as I hope they are too. Before I entered ministry, I thought that I could have maybe a spiritual connection with maybe 2 or 3 people in my life. To my surprise and delight, ministry opened a wide field of potential connection and openness to enter it. Over time, I've noticed that I'm not exchanging love with another person in a reciprocal way. I experience it more and more as entering into a communion of love that is bigger than both of us. That love energy existed before we met and continues after we separate. The more people I feel love for, the greater my capacity to experience love. Love expands the heart rather than contracts it around one person. When someone dies suddenly, like Dick Brewer did a year ago, I keenly felt the loss of the specificity of our relationship, the sound of his voice, his gentle humor, his calm leadership of our finance committee. Yet in his memorial service, the outpouring of love for him lifted me up too. I felt the impact of his life in a way that further opened my heart rather than closing it protectively. Whether we are holding on to love with everything we've got or gently letting go of the ones we've loved, the work of love, the work of the heart is the same, to continually grow bigger and bigger throughout our life. Whether it is letting go of our children as they grow up, or letting go of life journeys, letting go of our parents and grandparents as they complete their life journeys. It is the nature of life to learn again and again to love and to let go. May that letting go not diminish our capacity for love, but support its growth and development throughout our lives. I'd like to close reprising the end of that beautiful story that we heard, that Elizabeth told, titled Love by Matt de la Pena and illustrated by Lauren Long. It's love in each deep crease of your grandfather's face as he lowers himself onto an overturned bucket of fish. And it's love in the rustling leaves of gnarled trees lined behind the flower fields. And it's love in the made-up stories your uncle tells in the backyard between wild horseshoe throws. And the man in rags outside the subway station plays love notes that lift into the sky like tiny beacons of light. And the face staring back in the bathroom mirror, this too is love. So when the time comes for you to set off on your own, heavy winds will sweep past your building and great gray clouds will congregate above. Your loved ones will stand there like puddles beneath their umbrellas, holding you tight and kissing you and wishing you luck. But it won't be luck you leave with, because you'll have love. You'll have love, love, love. So be it.
Okay, good morning. I'm Michael Hornsby. I'm the service associate today. Now, before I introduce the offering, I just like to say that, I love this man. I really do. And yeah, and he will be missed when he leaves, when he retires. Before I introduce the offering, we need to note that with the exception of OWL for grades 8 and 9, Sunday morning programming for children and youth ends at 11:15. You have children in pre-K through 5th grade, please pick them up from their classrooms at that time. Older kids will be released on their own at 11:15 to reconnect with their grown-ups. Please feel free to leave the service when it's time to pick up your children. An important way we celebrate life each Sunday is by offering an opportunity to practice generosity. Members and friends support our congregation with an annual pledge paid throughout the year. Another way to support the good work of this congregation is by making a generous contribution as we pass the plate, or via one of the options shown on that slide, the next slide. Okay, so let me just note that this Sunday we will take our monthly collection in support of the Focus Food Pantry. You'll see the special donation envelope included in the order of service, or you can donate online. You can donate online. Let me just remind you not to seal the envelope so that we can reuse it. Thank you for your help. If you're joining us virtually, you can click on the tiny URL link in the chat to contribute, or you can send a text to the number shown on the screen. Examples on the slide show how to label your text to indicate the amount and the purpose of your gift. Chris?
Hi, I'm Sharon Babila, not Annie Lipinski. I'm Pastoral Care Associate today, and also available to provide support is Sandy Stone, who is raising her hand. This is the time set aside in our service for sharing significant personal milestones in our lives. There are several ways to share a joy or sorrow. On Zoom, you can click on the raise hand symbol. The technician will call on you to unmute and share your joy or sorrow. Those in Community Hall will be able to come forward and select a stone and place it in the bowl on the table. If you wish, you can share your joy or sorrow at the microphone with Dawn. Please also consider sharing your sorrow after the service with either myself or Sandy. We'll begin by reading items that were submitted this past week. That will be followed by spoken joys and sorrows on Zoom, and finishing with any joys and sorrows to be shared in Community Hall. I do have one that was submitted. As soon as I get my phone to work. Here we go. This is from Jay Holly. My joy is that I got to spend last weekend with my 93-year-old mom. While Alzheimer's is slowly stealing her memory, it has not stolen her joy. Seeing her delight in watching a bird on the feeder or in meeting a friendly dog on a walk brings a smile to my heart. I am so grateful I get to spend this time with her. Are there any on Zoom?
Yes, we have 2 raised hands on Zoom at this time. We go first to Carolyn Bradley. Carolyn, if you could unmute.
Hi, everybody. I wanted to share, I'm not going to call them joys and sorrows. I'm going to call them life experiences that I've had in the last 4 months or so. I'm currently in Florida, and I elected to get a reverse shoulder replacement done in January, which was a good thing. I'd had shoulder pain for a number of years. And I ran into some real severe pain, not related to the surgery. And as it turns out, I've been diagnosed with PMR, which stands with polymyalgia rheumatica, which is a autoimmune disease where the body starts attacking its joints. I have had arthritis for a long time and have had 3 replacements, including this shoulder. So it's been a rough 4 months, but the good news is that my shoulder is healing remarkably well now that I have the PMR under control with prednisone and I no longer am suffering a great deal of pain. I can do my PT, my shoulder's recovering, and I now feel like a human being again. And so my life experiences have been up and down, but I'm doing very well at this point in time. So wanted you all to know that. Thank you.
We go next to Donna and John. If you could unmute and share.
Good Sunday to everyone. Just want to mark the life of Mrs. G. Margaret Garnett, family friend, sorrow at her death, and joy for her long life.
Those are the only raised hands we have on Zoom at this time.
Thank you, Kate. Those wishing to move a stone are now invited to come forward. If you wish to speak your joy or sorrow, you can wait with Dawn at the microphone.
I'm Kathy Harris. I told you that my daughter Laura was going to be having breast surgery. She had it on February 1st. The results have come back kind of mixed. She will be getting chemo, and she had a pretty radical surgery. So, of course, I'm scared to death, and her dad's going out pretty soon to make trouble, but I hope to be going out also in a while to see her and hold her.
Morning, I'm Jan McCracken. You know, I was going to be quiet this morning and just put my stone in for a number of things, but Sam, your sermon moved me to remember my mom, Martha, who died yesterday, 2 years ago. And I know I'm seeing a lot of love out there. And the reason I'm saying something is because, you know, a lot of people don't know all the circumstances of that passing, but it was the big let go, and she chose to let go, and it was a beautiful let go, and you know, I'm still living and loving with it. So just wanted to let you know that, and I'm really glad to see Bob Freeman here, so that we can remember Mary Freeman in a little while, and I'm really looking forward to that. Thanks for coming.
Morning, my name is Jeffrey Saddam. I'm not really quite sure how to say this, but this is what's going on in my family. I have an uncle who has just recently moved into hospice. And, you know, when I was a kid, he was like this giant person in my life, so strong and so big. But we didn't have a very good relationship, really. I felt like I was the butt of lots of jokes. I felt like I was sort of pushed around and bullied by this enormous person in my life. And now I have these weird feelings that I'm trying to deal with about him passing, and how do I feel about it? Because I haven't had a relationship with him for years. And I don't know much about my cousins and so on and so on. So I don't know, I just thought I would just say it out loud because I'm still trying to figure out how all of it works, and I wanted to do that. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Stephen Moskowitz, and it is a joy to announce that tomorrow my mother, Rosalind Moskowitz, will be 100 years old. So happy almost birthday, Mom, with love.
Good morning. I'm Laura Paris. I have two daughters. My younger daughter, Molly, sent me a text this morning. One of many updates about her work for Disability Rights Florida. She's an attorney, and they are in the long process of making a case against the school district to prevent them from handcuffing and taking young children in squad cars to psychiatric evaluations. They're partnering in this with the Southern Poverty Law Center. It's a case that has many steps and many bits of testimony and what do you call them, special witnesses and all of that. And it's a lot of work, but we're hoping for a good outcome for the children. Florida is not a safe place in many ways, but this injustice against the children is very concerning. So keep her in your thoughts. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Joel Koulis. A few weeks ago, I came up just to share that my mom had had a fall and that I was waiting to see where things were going to go. So I guess today is somewhat of a joy because I'm going to go see her later on today and see her tomorrow. And I'm going to be meeting with the medical staff there to see what the next steps are. So I guess it's a joy and then maybe a hope. So thank you.
I'm Paula Brewer, and I have sorrow and a joy. A sorrow in missing my late husband, who died a year ago on January 12th. joy in the fond memories that Sam shared of that passing, and also in the story and just the service, and just realizing, although my husband wasn't always the first to say he loved me or he loved his daughter or others, he definitely showed it in so many ways. And I'm just so thankful for that.
As I select a stone on behalf of all those joys and sorrows that are left unspoken, let us hold all that we've heard and felt in our hearts.
For prayer of affirmation, I've got a beautiful poem by Naomi Shihab titled Kindness. Encourage you to turn inward for these words. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment, like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go, so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian with a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze at bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I who have been looking for," and then goes out with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend. So be it. And let us
We'd like to get to know guests and visitors to our service. You'd like to tell us who you are and where you're from, those here in Community Hall should stand or raise your hand. The usher will bring you the microphone so that everyone can hear you. Those joining on Zoom can click on the raise hand symbol. Our technician will invite you to unmute and introduce yourself. You can also click on the visitor link you'll now find in the chat window. Do we have anybody here who'd like to say hello to the congregation, visitors?
Oh, okay. My name is Bob Freeman. I grew up in Slingerlands, and my parents were Mary and Sam Freeman, And they were active in the church from the time I was like 9 or 10. And I used to come here and was part of the religious education and all the other stuff and the LRY, and I went to Camp Unirondack. In Star Island, they had LRY programs in Star Island. Until I, moved away to other parts of the country. But anyway, my folks stayed active in the church for a long time. My mom, the reason I'm here today is because my mom passed away on January 6th, and we're going to have a little observance for her at 11:45. It's good to see you. Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Kristen. My two children and husband and I just moved here from North Carolina, and I don't know. I'm very curious. I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. It's an all new experience for me, so it's been great. Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone on Zoom?
We have no raised hands on Zoom at this time.
Okay. Thank you and welcome to all who have joined us today. If you'd like to learn more about our congregation or Unitarian Universalism, you can stop by the table in the lobby and speak with, I believe Elizabeth Berberian was at the table when I came in. Okay. Our welcome table host. On Zoom, you can find in the participant window someone with welcome before their name. You can reach out to that person in the chat window. There will also be opportunities to socialize and welcome newcomers after the service, both for those on Zoom and those in Community Hall. I do have one announcement. Today is the first day you can reserve a place at the 18th Annual Wine and Cheese Tasting. Winos. Honestly, CR Winos at the table during coffee hour. Okay. I also draw your attention to announcements printed in the order of service shown on the screen. And I believe Karen Kaufman had an announcement.
Good morning. Sorry about that. I'm Karen Kaufman. I've been a member of the social justice team since I started coming to UU. The social justice team is hosting your coffee hour today. I just wanted to say that to me, social justice work is an absolutely essential part of my UU faith. One of my great heroes, Reverend Dick Gilbert, wrote a whole book about it called The Prophetic Imperative. He said, which I agree with, social action is not so much a product of my faith, but one of its dimensions, and absolutely essential to my spiritual health. He also contends that the Unitarian Universalist movement lives under a prophetic imperative, a religious mandate for the church to address the systemic problems of society. So basically, everyone should be on the social justice team, or at least come to a meeting or two. Hear what we're about. Bring your ideas, please. We need to fulfill our mandate to address some of the many injustices and suffering we see every day among our neighbors. I want to mention a couple of ongoing activities you might want to plug into. We do, with the inclusivity team, we do Stand Against Racism vigils in Del Mar and Troy. We have a fantastic partnership ongoing with Planned Parenthood to continue access to reproductive care. Some of us lobby for medical aid in dying in the state legislature. We also participate in UU the Vote postcarding to reach marginalized voters. That's just a few things, but we would really like to get some new ideas, and so we're inviting you to join and consider coming to one of our meetings. We meet the third Tuesday of each month at 6:45, and feel free to talk to one of us during coffee hour. We have little cards around you can look at to see what we're up to. And I also want to give a special shout out to our much loved and steadfast chair, Jean Poppy, who is here for the first day, just for this reason, since she's been housebound with her injuries since like September. So good to see you, Jean. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Okay. Any other announcements? Okay. So for the benediction, I'd like to leave you with these words. A former psychotherapist of mine told me the story of Sinbad the sailor and how on his sixth voyage, he discovered an island called Serendib. Serendib was a place that could only be reached by accidentally setting sail in good faith for elsewhere and losing your bearings serendipitously. You see what happened there? Serendipity? Okay. Eventually, Sinbad returned and brought the Sultan many wondrous gifts from the Caliph of Serendib. The Sultan then asked Sinbad to return to Serendib and take a message to the Caliph. Now, that was Sinbad's seventh and final voyage, and that's a story for another time. My therapist ended our session by saying that if you want to discover new and beautiful places, you must be willing to set sail and lose sight of the shore. May we all find faith to let go of our fear of change, to leave behind the people, places, ideas, and attitudes that trap us in the quicksand of comfortable pain and familiar misery, to find all the magic that awaits us on our journey through this life. As we extinguish the chalice, please join in the words shown on the screen. There we are. As we extinguish, okay, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Okay, so those on Zoom are encouraged to join a breakout room for conversation and fellowship. You can click to accept the breakout room assignment when it appears on your screen. Those in Community Hall are invited to attend coffee hour. We especially encourage guests and visitors to join us for coffee and refreshments. Anyone on Zoom or in Community Hall is welcome to attend a congregational response, discuss the service topic. You can stay in the same Zoom meeting or right here in Community Hall, and the discussion will begin in a few minutes. Those wishing to socialize with others are asked to exit Community Hall so that the congregational response can start promptly. Glad you joined us today. This concludes our service. Thank you.
Family is so tough sometimes, aren't they?
They are. They really are. They break your heart. Kids break your heart.
They do. They do. So I just wanted to make sure I said something.
Thanks, Randy. I appreciate that.